They were laughing while my baby's chest stuttered and stalled. Lip gloss smeared, ring lights humming, a TikTok draft looping like background noise in a nightmare. I walked toward the wall, the unplugged oxygen monitor dangling, cords swaying like broken promises. Don't touch that, my sister snapped. I froze, fingers suspended inches from the outlet. She needs to post her TikTok, Mom said with a careless wave. That noise can wait. My son, barely 4 pounds, lungs as fragile as morning mist, twitched. The monitor shrieked into the room. She's being dramatic again, they muttered, rolling their eyes. My niece laughed, spinning into another choreographed pose, as if my baby's life was a prop in her dance. His lips turned dusky. His chest hitched like a machine running on failing parts. Dad didn't move, didn't blink. Maybe it's better this way, he muttered. Weak ones don't deserve to live. Something inside me didn't explode, it clicked. A soft, final sound, like a lock turning. A decision. I reached for the cord. My sister caught my wrist, nails digging in. Don't ruin her shot. I looked at her, the girl I once trusted with secrets, and saw nothing but teeth. I didn't cry, didn't shout. I stepped back, slid my phone out, and pressed record. My voice was steady when I whispered, 911. My child can't breathe. My family unplugged his oxygen so they could charge a phone. The siren screamed through the speaker. My niece twirled again, laughing because she hadn't yet realized. I had. My name is Juliet Lane, and if you think you know how this ends, stay with me. Because a mother can only choose once, bloodline or blood. The paramedics stormed in 3 minutes later. But in betrayal time? That's an eternity. They shoved past the ring lights and glitter, brushing my mother's frantic hands away as she tried to explain. It's just a misunderstanding. I pointed to the unplugged monitor, to the tiny body twitching blue in the corner. That outlet, I said, my voice calm. It was taken by a phone charger. One medic followed my gaze, then looked at the glowing TikTok draft still paused on the screen. Then at my father, whose face didn't even twitch. They rushed my baby. Oxygen mask. Vitals. Compressing his tiny chest. You did the right thing, one medic told me. If you hadn't called, he might not be here. That's when my phone betrayed them. Not TikTok, my recording. Playing back. My mother's dismissal. My father's cruelty. My sister's grip. Their laughter. The truth. My niece's smirk faded. You didn't actually send that, did you? I tilted my phone so she saw the upload bar. Drive. Cloud. Back up. Not yet, I whispered. Police arrived moments later. My mother sputtered excuses. The monitor beeps all the time. We didn't mean. No one listened. They listened instead to my baby's faint breaths, to the medic's sharp order. Call Child Protective Services. This is neglect. Worse. My father finally moved. His eyes burned. You called the cops on your own family. You unplugged my son's lungs for a TikTok, I told him, my voice steel. I handed the officer my phone. Everything's here. He nodded, and I realized the silence I had swallowed my whole life was about to bury them instead. By nightfall, yellow tape crossed the nursery door. The same door my mother painted sunshine yellow when I brought him home from the NICU. Now she paced outside, sobbing not for him, but for herself. They're treating us like criminals, she hissed, blind to the truth. My niece was still filming, whispering to her followers, my aunt's trying to ruin my life. I didn't answer. I was too busy burning copies, flash drives, backups, one already in my lawyer's hands. In the hospital, my son slept in a crib, steady now, wires properly connected. The nurse told me he startled when the lights flicked off, his last memory of home, turning blue in the dark. I leaned over him and whispered, not again, not ever. Then I opened my email. One message to Child Services, one to the local news, one to the agency my niece had begged to notice her. Subject, behind the filter. Attachment, the raw clip. No caption. The footage was enough. By morning, it had millions of views. Comments flooded in. She let a baby suffocate for content. This family doesn't need followers, they need prison. And for the first time in years, I felt silence in my chest that wasn't swallowing me alive. It was freeing me. By noon, the story was no longer ours to contain. Reporters crowded the sidewalk in front of their house, microphones lifted like weapons. My sister's voice cracked through the phone, dripping with tears. You destroyed my future. I ended the call with a single sentence. You tried to destroy mine. Click. That afternoon, the agency cut ties in a clean, sterile press release. We do not endorse or represent individuals engaged in child endangerment. All partnerships are hereby terminated. Just like that, the glow of their ring lights dimmed, while for the first time in years, my own world began to shine. The voice that had silenced me my whole life was now amplified online, demanding justice. Court smelled like dust and old paper. My mother wore her pearls like they were armor. My father didn't bother, just sat slouched, half-formed, like a statue left unfinished. My niece had no phone, no makeup, only hollow eyes that had finally caught on. Likes don't buy mercy. The judge's gaze swept across the room, voice sharp with steel. I've reviewed the footage, the medical records, the CPS findings. Tell me, what part of this child's suffering did you find amusing? Silence. The kind of silence that exposes everything. My attorney rose. We request immediate restraining orders, a no-contact clause, and full placement on the child neglect registry. The judge nodded, voice measured, granted. My mother gasped as if struck. You can't. We're family. I stood, steady. No, we're just blood. Family requires humanity. Then came the envelope. The judge arched a brow. And this. More proof, I said. Baby cam footage from months earlier. My father throwing a blanket over the incubator. My sister screaming at me for restoring the oxygen. My mother sipping wine like none of it mattered. The room erupted in horror. The judge slammed the gavel. This case is escalated to criminal negligence. Formal investigation begins now. The people who had unplugged my son for a TikTok were suddenly facing felonies. Outside, cameras flashed. Do you want to make a statement? My lawyer asked. I shook my head, then whispered, tell them I'm no hero. Just a mother who finally pressed play. That night, my house was quiet. My son breathed softly, machines steady, lullabies filling the space instead of their voices. Safe, because I built a home where survival didn't depend on someone else's apologies. Across town, my sister's face plastered every local broadcast. Influencer turned cautionary tale. Family charged after viral neglect video. Former sponsors scattered, posting statements about how they had no idea. Online, she trended under a new tag. #Oxygen for likes. My mother's text trickled in. It got out of hand. Please talk to us. I didn't answer. Instead, I wrote to the property lawyer. They never knew the house was in my name. Years back, when Dad lost his job, they leaned on my credit. I signed the papers out of guilt. But guilt doesn't live here anymore. I sold it. At exactly 2 p.m., the new owner arrived with movers. I watched from 2 blocks away, feeding my son while chaos unfolded. My mother screamed on the lawn. My niece cried in the driveway. My father raged at the realtor until the police led him off the property. And me, I whispered to my son, you'll grow up where love matters more than Wi-Fi. Later, the news anchor's voice filled the room. The infant is recovering well and remains safely with his mother. My lawyer leaned close. You've become the face of maternal justice. I didn't crave recognition. I wanted peace. But if truth was the price, then let truth echo. The first interview was simple. A small studio, a quiet journalist, my son asleep in my arms. Why did you press record? She asked. I paused. Because no one would believe me without proof. That was all. The segment aired. By morning, it was everywhere. National headlines, furious editorials, strangers calling it bravery. #Oxygen for likes explodes online. Public outrage grows. And then messages came. From mothers, from nurses, from people who had suffered in silence. Thank you. You gave me the courage to leave. My daughter finally called 911 after seeing your video. I didn't know how to respond, so I did what I had always done. Told the truth. Another interview followed, this time on national television. The host asked if I had words for my family. I looked straight into the camera. This isn't revenge. This is protection. For every child who never got the chance to press record. Calls poured in. Nonprofits offered nurses for my son. Advocacy groups asked me to speak. What began as survival had become something larger. But for me, it was never about the world. It was about a boy who could finally breathe in peace. They used to call me too sensitive. Now my face was everywhere, articles, hashtags, speeches. But the moment that mattered most didn't happen in a courthouse or on a screen. It was 2 a.m. when my son stirred in his crib. I got up, crossed the room, and saw the oxygen monitor blinking steady and green. I bent down, kissed his cheek, and he gave me a small, deliberate smile. Not a reflex, but a signal I'm safe. They had stolen so much from me, but not this. He still had breath, still had wonder, still had me. The courtroom was full that day, reporters, advocates, even a senator's aide in the back row jotting notes. My sister sat at the defense table, hollow-eyed. Her mascara-free face a ghost of the online persona she'd built and burned. My mother looked older, scanning for sympathy that wasn't there. My father never came. Word was he left town after the house sold. I wasn't in makeup or a sharp suit, just a pendant around my neck, the one my son clutched in the NICU before he had a name. The judge read the charges: felony child endangerment, criminal negligence, violation of medical safety protocols. My sister cried, but not for my son. Her lawyer begged for mercy, calling it poor judgment. The prosecutor played the video again. It wasn't poor judgment. It was cruelty caught on tape. The judge didn't hesitate. 2 years probation, mandatory counseling, permanent placement on the National Child Neglect Registry. My mother gasped. My sister's sobs deepened. Then the unexpected. The judge turned to me. Mississippi Lane, do you have a final statement? My heart thudded. My breath steadied. I didn't look at the judge first. I looked at my mother. I begged you, I said quietly. Not just that night. My whole life. You chose silence. You chose convenience. Then I turned to my sister. You danced over my child's body. I hope you remember that when no brand answers your emails. Finally, I looked at the crowd. And to anyone wondering if you should press record, do it. You're not crazy. You're not dramatic. Your proof is waiting to be believed. The room clapped. Not loud, but steady, like justice letting out a breath. Outside, cameras flashed. My lawyer whispered, "They want to make a documentary about you." I nodded, but my mind was already back home with a baby wrapped in light, breathing. A year passed. My son walks now, wobbly steps, gummy grin, arms up like the world is cheering him on. We moved to a quiet town where no one calls him that baby from the video. Here he's just Noah, strong, curious, whole. The oxygen monitor hangs in a shadow box on our wall. Wires still frayed, but framed like armor. Proof that survival doesn't always roar. Sometimes it gasps first. My mother sent one last letter. No apology. Just a line in shaky handwriting. You were never meant to be a mother. She was right. I was meant to be his. My sister vanished from the internet. No brand would touch her. She applied for jobs under new names, but it didn't matter. The moment she handed me silence instead of that plug, she muted her future. I still get messages from strangers, survivors, women with trembling hands and quiet bravery. I answer everyone because someone once believed me when I couldn't even speak. Now I speak so others don't have to scream. One night, Noah fell asleep in my arms, his tiny hand curled around my pendant, the same one he held in the NICU. I whispered into the dark, "Thank you for fighting." To him, to myself, to every mother who picked up a phone instead of looking away. Then I turned off the light. The monitor blinked softly in the dark. Steady, faithful.